Got you running around.
No,
Better
Just
off
get
late.
that done.
Give us a minute.
I know, better late
Then never.
than
Good morning. We'll go ahead and call the regular session of the Yuma County Board of Supervisors, also sitting as all special taxing districts, February 19, 2025. Board members will attend either in person, by telephone, or remotely via electronic conferencing. And we don't have Supervisor Lyons today. He won't be on the phone.
Within a whiffer.
No, Mr. Chairman, he's at a WIFA meeting in Phoenix.
Yeah, as chair, it's
What
hard
is
for him to
exception?
miss those.
Can we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? For the faculty to please lead us.
Yes. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We'll go ahead and move on to call to the public. Call to the public is held for public benefit to allow individuals to address issues within the board jurisdiction. Board members may not discuss items that are not specifically identified in the agenda. Therefore, pursuant to Arizona Revised Statute 38-431.01H, action taken as a result of public comment will be limited to directing staff to study the matter, responding to criticism, or scheduling the matter for further discussion and decision at a future date. Public comments may be made in person or submitted by email at publiccomments@yumacountyaz.gov. The email forms of public comments will be accepted until 8 a.m. the morning of the meeting. All public comments will be read out loud during the Yuma County Board of Supervisors meeting that starts at 9 a.m. Desiree, do we have emails?
Yes, we do. We received an email from Susan Wright regarding the property located at 9474 East Ranch Drive in Yuma, Arizona. We have lived next door to this property for over 15 years and watched it get progressively junkier. We tried to be nice and understanding, suggesting the owner, Sue Fouquet, that she clean it. Sue does not and has not lived there for the past 4 or 5 years. We even offered to buy it so that we could clean it up. She did not want to sell and has always had excuses as to why she cannot clean it now. Finally, in September 2022, I filed a formal complaint and refiled a year later. I have talked numerous times to county employees about this property. It is a fire hazard. It is a health hazard. On this property, there are 8 inoperable vehicles, plus a boat, a camper, a completely gutted RV trailer, and 1 motorhome that has been sitting in front for so long that the weeds have grown up through the frame and through the engine compartment. None of the vehicles have current licensing, nor are they being worked on. They are strictly abandoned. The property is completely full of junk, to include piles and piles of wood, brick, papers and books, a falling apart swing, several trailers and trailer parts, tires, tree cuttings, car parts, metal, siding, glass, sinks, appliances, furniture, bedding, pots and trash barrels, rolls of chain link fence, and just so much more garbage. Everything is just dumped on the property. We ask you to please do something about this and make our neighborhood safe.
Thank you, Desiree. Can we look into that or send?
It's on the agenda today for abatement.
It's on your-
Oh, that's it, huh?
That's it.
I knew I'd seen it. Okay.
Make it clear. Just give her her address, which is next to this.
Anybody else from the public that wishes to address the board? Not, I'll go ahead and, I got 2 speaker forms, but they're for items on the agenda, so I'll call on those speakers when we get to those items. I'll call to the public back to the board or close it and move on to presentations, proclamations, and appointments. Any proclamation or appointments?
Yes. Oh, no appointment.
Okay. We'll move on to item number 1. Chairman proclaims the month of February 2025 to be the Heart Health Awareness Month in Yuma County. And Mr. Frank Resi will read it.
Proclaiming the month of February 2025 as Heart Health Awareness Month. Whereas to shine a spotlight on how to prevent heart-related illnesses and promote a healthy lifestyle in our community, helping families and loved ones live a healthier and stronger life through education, action, and wearing red as a symbol of heart health awareness. And whereas the American Heart Association promotes awareness during the month of February by hosting walking events and every first Friday of February as National Wear Red Day to help spread the word of heart-related diseases. And whereas heart disease is the leading cause of death in the United States, every 40 seconds, someone in the United States is experiencing a heart attack. Approximately 1 in 5 heart attacks are silent, and many are unaware they are experiencing a heart attack. Coronary heart disease is the most common type of heart disease. Up to 90% of cardiovascular diseases may be preventable with education and action. Whereas the month of February as Heart Awareness Month will be a time to help educate our community in schools, workplaces, and at local events about how to prevent heart-related deaths and live a healthier lifestyle. Now, therefore, the Yuma County Board of Supervisors proclaim the month of February 2025 to be Heart Health Awareness Month in Yuma County, and urge the public to participate in activities and observance of this month to increase awareness and understanding of heart health awareness as a national challenge, and to continue to join efforts to prevent the increase of heart-related deaths.
Thank you. And we have Jaylene Aguilera. Do you want to come up or?
Mm-hmm.
No, or
I
do
think
you want to
we're
say a
gonna
few
keep-
words or?
You want to say a few words at the mic?
Sure. Oh,
Okay.
this is a mic right here.
Yes.
Good morning, everyone. I just want to extend my thank you. This is something that is very near and dear to my heart. Sorry, I'm not going to cry. In my family, we have experienced heart-related illnesses, and the closest people in my life have also recently experienced a heart stroke. And I think it's very important bringing that awareness here to Yuma County to share knowledge about the importance on living a healthy lifestyle for your heart, not just for yourself, but also for your loved ones. It really does take a toll on everybody. And I just want to extend my thank you to everyone who has been of support with this. As part of my service initiative as Miss Ocean to Ocean, I don't just want to bring this to Yuma County, but throughout the rest of Arizona and working with the American Heart Association. So I really extend my thank you to you guys for officially proclaiming the month of February as Heart Health Awareness Month. So thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for your support and participation of what you're doing. So thank you.
Having heart health awareness as your service
You have it?
platform
Yeah.
is very, very important. Let's go down and take a picture.
Sure.
Do I get to wear the crown? No.
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 Tony, I think it would slide off. I think it'd slide off. I don't think you can get the stand.
We have to pin it or glue it.
Oh, we'll do it.
Okay, we're gonna go 1, so we go from here. And then 1 here. All right, now the last one, the official. 1, 2, 3.
And maybe one over here too. Beautiful, you guys.
There we go.
Beautiful, thank you.
Thank you guys so much.
I saw you on the
Thank you
news
for
last
bringing
night
attention
too.
to
It
this.
was so.
You couldn't wear the crown. You couldn't wear the crown, it'd slide off.
Oh, this is glue.
I know, I'm trying to wear my winter stuff.
Oh, shoot. I pushed the wrong button and it started.
Item number 2, presentation of Yuma County Quarterly Safety Excellence Award.
Good morning, Chairman Porches, members of the board, Ian McGahee, County Administrator. As you know, at Yuma County, safety is a priority. It's a commitment that we observe and honor and celebrate day in and day out. We're dedicated to providing a secure and safe facility for our workers, our employees, our visitors, residents, businesses. The success of Yuma County and Superior Court is the result of the dedication and innovative spirit that our employees demonstrate day in and day out. To honor those who consistently champion safety in the workplace, Yuma County has established the Safety Excellence Award. Any employee can nominate a colleague for this prestigious recognition. All nominees are recognized in the UCount newsletter. They receive a certificate of achievement and a goodie bag. Nominations are reviewed by the Safety Committee and a final winner is selected. The winner of the Safety Excellence Award receives an Arctic U-Safe tumbler and a check for $100. The winners of each quarterly Safety Excellence Award will then be submitted for consideration for the annual Safety Excellence Award, and the winner of that receives $250. I'd now like to welcome Safety and Security Coordinator Carlos Marquez to introduce this quarter's nominees.
Hello, good morning. Good morning, Chairman Porches. Good morning, members of the board. My name is Carlos Marquez. I'm Safety and Security Coordinator for Yuma County, and I am delighted to commend the outstanding nominees for the Safety Excellence Award for the fourth quarter of 2024 and to unveil a deserving winner. Today, we have the privilege of acknowledging 4 exceptional employees who have been nominated for the dedication to safety from October to December of 2024. A big thank you to those who nominated these individuals. Your contributions are you truly make a difference in our safety culture. And to the nominees, please stand momentarily as I announce your names for a well-deserved recognition. So first up, we have Barbara Diaz. Barbara Diaz works in the health department as a health administrative coordinator with just under 12 years of service for Yuma County. Barbara leads the health district safety initiatives, developing and implementing policies, manuals, and procedures. She oversees safety trainings and ensures compliance across the organization. With extensive knowledge of county safety standards, Barbara conducts regular inspections, addresses hazards, and responds promptly to safety and staff concerns. As a safety compliance officer, she emphasizes the importance of safety by explaining policies and the reasonings behind them. Her dedication to fostering a safety-first culture makes her an excellent candidate for the Safety Excellence Award. Thank you, Barbara.
And she makes her own coffee.
Next up, we have gentleman to my right, we have Robert Torres. Works in adult probation as a community program supervisor with 31 years of service for Yuma County. Robert is always proactive about safety, whether it's cleaning up spills, addressing pest issues, or ensuring bathrooms are sanitary. After a fire broke out in a smoker's trash can, he quickly bolted it covered to prevent future fires, protecting both property and staff. Even after hours, Robert responded immediately when alerted to the situation, demonstrating his commitment to safety. He also encourages coworkers to keep safety in mind in order to prevent accidents. Robert's proactive approach makes him an essential part of maintaining a safe environment at adult probation. Next up, we got Robert Rosas. He is a senior HVAC technician under facilities management with 3 years of service for Yuma County. Robert always takes the time to check his equipment before using it and teaches others the safest way to tackle a job. He consistently emphasizes the importance of safety. For example, when he noticed a coworker wearing personal equipment that could cause a hazard, Robert advised him to remove it and explain what hazards it could pose. Robert teaches new employees to prioritize safety, even if it means taking more time to do the job correctly. Not too much time. He sets a great example for doing things the right way, making him a deserving candidate for the Safety Excellence Award. Again, thank you, Robert. Finally, also in the back, we got Bobby Rico. Robert Bobby Rico, everyone knows him, is in Facilities Management Department as a Fire and Safety Technician 1 with 14 years of service for Yuma County. Bobby implemented a streamlined system to track inspections and maintenance for all fire alarm devices and extinguisher systems, improving compliance and reducing missed maintenance by using digital tools. He minimized downtime, lowered repair costs, and increased equipment reliability. Robert also supports the fire extinguisher training program, ensuring staff are prepared for emergencies and reducing the risk of injury and damage. He identifies potential safety risks early, such as replacing worn fire alarm components during routine inspections to prevent failure. Robert works to meet and exceed fire safety regulations, providing detailed reports, participating in audits, and helping update policies. His collaboration strengthens workplace safety initiatives. A passionate safety advocate, Bobby conducts workshops, promotes safety awareness, and actively participates in fire drills, boosting preparedness and confidence across Yuma County. Again, thank you, Bobby. With exceptional nominees, choosing a winner was a challenging task for the Safety Committee. However, after careful consideration, we have made our selection. I am delighted to announce the recipient for the Safety Excellence Award for the fourth quarter of 2024 calendar year. Please join me in congratulating, drumroll, Bobby Rico.
That was in the middle.
Come on up here and get a picture.
Get in the back here, or?
Should we stay in the back behind him? You know, we can.
No, let's get down there.
You know? Okay.
More fun to get up and walk.
We don't.
Don't let them, the chairman's not behind me holding my wallet.
Oh, I'll get him this side.
We can evenly disperse this way, please.
Oh, all the way over here.
Yeah, so we can all fit.
Back up, guys, or scoot over. This way. This way. Yeah. Even more, we're running off the podium. There we go.
All right. Everybody look this way. 1, 2, 3. And then if we can get one with the winner, please.
Oh, yeah. Thank you all.
Don't spend it all in one spot.
Want to scoot in with me?
Yes, now I can.
1, 2, 3. Thank you so much.
Good job.
I'm grabbing it. Chairman, if you give me a second, I'd like to acknowledge, I haven't seen Ron in a long time. Ron Martin, nice to see you.
I know, there he is.
Moving on to item number 3. Presentation by CEO President Greg Levon on Greater Yuma Economic Development activities.
Good morning,
Great.
Chairman, Board. Good to see everybody today. Thank you for
When
taking
I
the time.
return the favor, saying, I haven't seen you in a long time.
Fair enough, you got me on that. Yeah. All right. So I come before you today to give our mid-year report. But before I do that, I'd like to take a quick moment to just go over the new suite of services we offer at the Greater Yuma Economic Development Corporation. We are known as an organization that really works on going out and trying to catch the big fish and bring them back to the community And we do that. We spend 80% of our money trying to attract new industry, but we spend 80% of our time working with stakeholders and partners in the local area. And we do that through a number of different efforts. One of them is collaborating with our workforce development partners to ensure we have the right training programs and resources available to existing companies and new companies we're trying to bring into town. Along with that, we work with ALLO, APS, Southwest Gas, along with even municipal partners to ensure that we have the proper utilities within the economic development zones that we've identified for future growth. We spend about $70,000 a year on data and software to ensure we have the right programs in place and the right information to project out where our community is going from an economic perspective and even from an overall development perspective. Along with that, we work with our manufacturing, food processing, aerospace and defense, logistics partners to ensure that they're being attended to and they have all the resources they need in order to grow. Because if we're bringing a new industry, we really can't do that if we can't help our supporting industry from the beginning. We also work with our key stakeholders. I have a board of 19 individuals. Chairman Porteous is one of my bosses. But along with that, we represent the private side as well. And so we need to make sure that we're tending to all the different industry bases in our community and that we're not just focusing on one so we can create a more diverse economic base. Along with that, we work to basically put together financial programs, tax incentives, grants, low interest loans, so that when companies here locally are looking to expand, we have those resources for them. But then as we try to bring in new industry as well, we have those programs in place so that they can basically have a soft landing in our community and make more of an investment in the community. And then lastly, we are a public relations and marketing arm for the entire region. From an economic development perspective, we are telling our story from a different perspective nowadays, but we're also doing it in a way that's more dynamic and more interactive as well. So within that, we have a lot of different services we offer. How do we measure our effectiveness? Well, with the direction of my board, Chairman Porteous and Board Supervisor Lyons, we have identified different objectives and different key metrics that we want to focus on to ensure we are utilizing your investment in a proper way. And we do that through a couple different KPIs: investor creation, revenue generation, economic resilience, which really means creating an economy that can withstand economic downturn, can withstand disease, can withstand warfare. If we rely on one industry, which is ag, which is our number one industry here, and we want to support that, but we need to have other industries that support that as well and complement that, and that's what we're here to do. Ag is fine on its own, it's doing very well, but if we can bring in other industries to essentially diversify our economic base, we create a better tax base, which then ultimately creates more money for public services and so forth. And within here at the mid-year point, I think we're doing pretty well as an organization. The 6 companies that we've supported in the past 6 months have projected and have committed to creating over 366 new jobs. The average wage I'm very proud of, that's over $15,000 higher than the county median wage, and a payroll generation of over $20 million if they do satisfy their commitments in 2025. Along with that, you can see that from a capital investment perspective, in 2025, these companies anticipate or estimate they're going to invest over $85 million into our local area. And by 2026, that will go up to $160 million. 2 of these companies here, Project Ambition and Project 310, I am not at liberty yet to announce them, but they have made investments in their properties. They are starting engineering and design. These are 2 Fortune 500 companies that are going to bring a lot of prominence to our area, going to essentially shine a light on why Yuma County is a great place to invest in. So we're very excited once we can make those announcements and have all of our board supervisors and city council members at that groundbreaking and ribbon cutting. And then within here, I'm also very proud of the fact that as we work towards improving our economic base, we're doing it throughout the entire county, all the way from the East County down to the city of San Luis on the border. That's our focus, right? Is create new jobs, quality jobs, create new investment, but do it across the entire county, not within one region. And so as we move forward, we want to continue to see these dots get bigger and our overall investments from companies grow in every part of Yuma County. Now, moving on. That one jumped over. Moving on. What else are we doing? Well, that's what we committed, or that's what we've been able to accomplish at the mid-year point. But going forward, what are we going to do? Well, we need to focus on bringing in other companies that want to invest in our community. And a lot of times that starts with commercial developers and consultants. You hear about a lot of these big announcements that happen in Phoenix all the time. But for the most part, the projects start with these commercial developers because they're the ones who have the book of business. They are helping their clients across the country identify new sites for development. And so we need to make sure that the ones in our backyard are aware of our community, that they understand that what we have to offer. So I'm going out to them, meeting with them in person, or hopefully bringing them down here as well so that they can explore our area and understand better what our community has to offer. And then along with that, I am also on the road. I've already attended 3 shows and I have 3 more coming up. Within those, I am able to meet with different site selectors and also consultants that represent companies looking to relocate or expand their operations. And by the end of the year, I anticipate I'll have over 52 pitch meetings with consultants and site selectors face-to-face, talking to them about the benefits of our community and the assets we have, and over 40 one-on-one meetings with qualified, bona fide companies that are looking at the Southwest for expansion or relocation. And so for me, we have to be out there telling our story. We can't just rely on sitting behind our desk and doing that. So we have to hit the road, essentially be very prominent and very boisterous about why our community deserves more economic development. And then lastly, just want to quickly touch upon the fact of our relationships and our partnerships with some of our key local stakeholders. We are working right now with YCETA to help them develop their smart farm. We understand that ag is going in an innovative and a very automated direction. And so within that, YCETA has some very ambitious plans of growing their smart farm. So we are trying to help them to identify revenue to basically put new infrastructure into the ground out there so that they can continue to support ag tech and really become the YPG of ag tech testing in Yuma County. R&D, fabrication, manufacturing can all be done here if we have the right key support systems in place. Along with that, we are working with the City of Yuma, Elevate Southwest, and AWC on a $16 million grant, National Science Foundation, to essentially develop our spaceport and also to increase innovation within multiple industries within Yuma County. We made round 2, which was a big step. Only 2 communities in Arizona did that. And at this point in time, we're the only spaceport application in the queue for the entire country. So we feel very confident that we should be able to make round 3, and we're working very diligently on that. And then we're also working with AWC on their manufacturing center. I know Governor Hobbs will be here next week to do the groundbreaking for that. And we know that as we continue to move forward with that center, that's going to be a big message to companies we try to locate here, that our community is investing $4 million into training individuals that can, basically fill manufacturing, logistician, or food processing jobs in our community, and even aerospace and defense. This center is going to support tracks directly with electronic controls and other A&D jobs. So we think this is going to be a shining beacon for economic development going forward. We're also working with the ACA to help get the GM facility back up and running to the fullest extent. We know this is an asset that the state of Arizona can really be promoting, and we want to make sure that we are touting that as something for EV companies, for autonomous vehicle companies, or even for traditional companies that are in automobile manufacturing to use this facility at its fullest extent. Right now, it's running on the graveyard shift. We want to see it be back up and running 24/7. As I mentioned, the spaceport, we are moving forward on that, and we hope to have more information to divulge at an upcoming meeting. We still work with the Child Care Task Force because we know that all of our industry sectors here really suffer from finding that second and third shift for child care. So we want to continue to be at the forefront of identifying solutions for that. We are not leading that effort, but we are partnering with our local partners to essentially find different ways of providing low-cost child care on the off hours. And then we're also dedicating ourselves to a binational effort that essentially we have hired in conjunction with the Greater Yuma Port Authority, a binational attraction consultant. He's actually going to be in Mexico City next week at 3 different shows. But the whole goal is for us to be down in Mexico telling our story versus up here. Him meeting with partners down there, different agencies, different coalitions, different trade groups, to essentially let them know that Yuma County is open for business. We can support them by connecting with companies here, and hopefully they would want to make an investment in us as well. Especially with some of the tariffs and trade negotiations going on, we truly believe that going forward, we're going to benefit from some onshoring because of that. And we want to make sure that some of those domestic companies in Mexico will look at us before flying over to Phoenix or Tucson or somewhere else like that. And then lastly, we are working with Alejandro Figueroa and our other city partners on an Economic Development Administration grant called the CEDS, Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy. Essentially what that means is we have to put a strategy together for the feds in order for us to apply for any future grants or other programs to help economic development. Those can total up to $3 million or even larger, but we have to have this plan in place to do that. And so we've been working very hard on putting together this whole strategy, submit it to the feds. Once we have that in place, that will allow us to go out for different infrastructure and even brick and mortar grants to help support development in East County, South County, or surrounding areas. For example, we actually just got the City of San Luis a $2 million grant through EDA to extend water and sewer lines down to the Meadowcraft building, and that was through the EDA program because of our CEDS. So those are the kind of programs we need to continue to work on to essentially provide infrastructure balance in areas that may not be able to pay for it on their own. And with that, I would love to open myself up to any questions or comments you may have from the board, Chairman.
No, I don't have any questions. I'm just impressed. Thank you.
I do have a comment, and in respect to the fact that I can hear and see that the focus is not just Yuma, it's the whole county. And it hardens me to see that, because if there was an issue before that we had to deal with all the time, was the fact that most of the economic development was happening within the city of Yuma, which I understood because they had the facilities, the infrastructure needed. But I'm really enthused about seeing how many projects you have outside the city of Yuma that are going to benefit the greater Yuma County.
Thank you, Supervisor. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Greg.
Chairman, thank you for your time and thank you for your continued investment. Have a great day. Take care.
Moving on to item number 4, presentation of the preliminary 2025-2026 plan cost projection provided by Mary Fedor and Siegel, with Siegel.
Fedor? Is that it? Fedor?
Fedor.
Fedor.
Good morning, Chairman Porteous and the board members. I brought Debbie Donaldson. I'm totally losing my mind here. She is the Senior Vice President and West Region Practice Leader, but more importantly, she's an actuary, and she's going to go through this presentation with you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Again, Debbie Donaldson. So hopefully I can live up to these wonderful presentations that we've had previously, because we're going to be talking about your employee benefits and the projections that we have done for Yuma County this year. So let's see if I can. Oh, good. Okay. So what we're going to do first is talk about kind of just basics of self-funded plans, and then we're going to go into the details. So your plans are what's called self-funded. And what does that mean? Self-funded means that you're bearing the risk of any kind of liabilities that you have. Now, you do have protection, which we'll get into in a bit. You have stop loss, and you also have reserves. But for the most part, you are bearing the risk of the plans. And so fluctuations from year to year, positive and negative, you're bearing. And I would say, for plans of your size, we do recommended self-funding because the plan is more predictable. You are a credible population, and we do recommend self-funding for plans of your size. Your plans are with Blue Cross Blue Shield of Arizona, as well as Express Scripts. Express Scripts is your pharmacy benefit manager, and Blue Cross Blue Shield of Arizona is your medical provider.
And you do have SSA as your Mexico network.
So just some benefits of self-funded. I'll go through this really quickly. It does give you flexibility with plan design. So in a fully insured arrangement, you have less flexibility, and it's really based upon the carriers and the plans that they offer. You kind of have to fit into their box. You, being self-funded, can make changes to your plans as you wish. You get more reporting, which is what we do, and we do deep dive analysis and really get into the details of your plan. So just more reporting that you would get in self-funded. Another thing I'll just say is, your plan can hold reserves, which I always think is a benefit for self-funded plans, because you're having the interest on your own cash and assets sitting there versus giving it to an insurance company. And you take out the conservatism, if you will, that insurance companies have for profit, right? So you get to keep all of that and manage it yourself. And let's go on to basics of kind of the cash flows that we see. So what are the ins and outs of your plan? Well, you get the inflows of contributions from both you, the plan, are contributing, as well as the employee, and then the investment income that I just mentioned. And so that goes into your accumulation fund. And then the stop loss is actually both. So depending on your stop loss is at $150,000. So any claims above that, you're getting reimbursement for that from your stop loss carrier, but you're also paying a premium. So that's kind of fully insured ask, right? But it's taking off the risk. I call it the tail of the high cost claimant tail. And I do recommend stop loss for clients of your size because it helps mitigate the risk on that tail of really high cost claims, right? So that's protecting you. And some of the other outflows, you obviously are paying claims, and then you have fees, what's called administrative fees, to manage the adjudication of your claims. So Blue Cross Blue Shield is adjudicating your claims for medical, and then ESI is adjudicating claims on the pharmacy side. They're kind of managing that on the back end, as well as some other administrative fees. So here's the basics of stop loss, right? So the left side of the graph is really showing, okay, here's some different claim examples, and your specific deductible is at $150,000. So any claims above that amount, the stop loss plan is reimbursing the plan. You are paying a premium for this, but then it gets offset by any any claims above that. That's going to be an important component as we talk a little bit later of how your plan's been performing this last year. Then you also have what's called an aggregate claim attachment point. So claims above a certain amount, $1 million or something, is really high. So if the total amount gets above a certain threshold of the amounts above specific, then they cover all your claims, and that middle part is called the margin corridor. Okay, so you do have reserves. The first thing as an actuary I always do is and certify as an IBNR. It's incurred but not reported reserves that your plan must carry. And so what that represents, along incurred but not reported, it's like the lag. So if you have a certain point of time, let's say June 30th, right? So claims could be incurred during that time but haven't yet been paid yet because they haven't been adjudicated. However, they know that it's been incurred prior to June 30th. So the plan needs to cover a liability because we know those claims are going to get, we don't know, but we estimate that those claims are going to get paid out into the future. And so you have to hold a liability because it's risk to the plan, additional reserves. And then you have a claims fluctuation reserve. You have a fund balance to protect your plan for just fluctuations that you can dip into if you would like. The IBNR, we do it for both medical and prescription drugs, but also dental. I'd say for pharmacy, the lag is about 5 to 7 days now, but it's really the medical that is driving your IBNR reserve. Dental is about 30 days or something, but there is a reserve for dental as well. Okay, so we're going to get into some of the details of how we project things. And the big thing that I look at is trend. I'm actually on the committee that helps set our corridor for trends across the country that Siegel and our consultants we use. So we look at this, and we have a great team of national actuaries who really dive deep into kind of what we're seeing in our experience of our clients, what we're seeing out in the industry, beyond talking to carrier, what are they seeing. And so we look at trend in basically two buckets. We look at utilization and unit price. So unit price is, okay, based upon the contracts of the hospital, how much are they increasing year over year? Blue Cross Blue Shield, as an example, contracts with a bunch of hospitals and providers, and they have certain specific contracts about increases year over year. And so that's really unit price. On the pharmacy side, it's the cost of that specific drug, right? And how that's increasing year to year. And that varies by generic, specialty, brand name drugs, the increases that you see on those drugs and the competition within the pharmacy industry. And then there's utilization. So are members utilizing a certain, are we seeing more cancer patients this year than last year? Are we seeing certain drugs being utilized more than another? And so there's a utilization mix trend that we look at as well that also drives trend. I'll give you an example. We haven't seen it in your plan, but across the country, you've probably seen all the commercials out there for GLP-1s and anti-obesity medications. That has been a hot topic for a lot of our clients across the country because the utilization trends are very high and really driving up costs. The cost of the drugs are expensive as well. So this is a little yo-yo graph, right? Us actuaries love graphs, but this is showing your trends over time. And the yo-yo that we're seeing in that kind of light blue color is your medical trend. And really that yo-yo is associated with COVID. We didn't see as much of change in utilization or how members utilize drugs during COVID. They were still picking up their medications and still utilizing it. But we really saw that dip and really fluctuation on the medical side. The other thing I'll just note is you are seeing on the pharmacy side this continuous upward trend, right? So if you look back in prior to 2020, the trends were like, at least for 17 and 19 in the 5% range, and we've just been continuing to go up. So for 25, we're predicting a very high trend of 11.4%. I will note that a lot of that is driven by GLP-1s and anti-obesity medications. So when we look at kind of trends for your plan, we look specifically, okay, what are the drivers in your plan? And we mitigate that kind of looking broadly over a broad year period, but we also incorporate what's happening nationally as well. All right, so we're going to go into some detail. Some of these slides are eye charts, so I'll just walk through some of the key things, but if you have any questions on the details, happy to answer. So we're going to go into your fiscal year 26 projections. So this is just a couple of disclaimers real quick. I think the main thing is, and you guys can read this, but some of this information is based upon information we receive from you, Yuma County. Some of the information we get is from the carriers as well. A couple of things to note here is I'll go down to I'll go to the first one, is that we're using the claims and enrollment period from December 22 through November 24. So we're using a 24-month period in doing our projections. I'll go down to the third bullet. These are the trends that we're using ahead. So the pharmacy, we are using 11.4%. We are using just shy of 8% for your medical trend. And then SSA Mexico, we're only using 4.5%. If you have any questions about this, happy to take questions. I'll just note that on the fee side, we are also, so we look at your administrative fees, we look at your contracts and the increases. So on that last bullet, we saw that the Blue Cross Blue Shield Arizona fees, these are your admin fees, are about 2%. And we are including a $75,000 wellness allowance. This slide goes into a little bit more. I think the big thing to note here that we always look at is your rebates. So rebates are kind of offset to costs that we receive. It comes through the manufacturer and then it flows through to ESI. And these are kind of based upon the drugs that are being utilized. There's been negotiation kind of offsets or rebates that the plan receives. And so that's a big component to help offset the cost of your pharmacy spend. So we look at that very closely when we do the projections. All right. Eye chart number 1. Okay, this is the projection and the cost estimates. A couple of things I want to point you to, which is that very bottom line, and the first bullet to the right, is we're looking at just shy of a 20% increase this year. It's about 19.7%. That equates into a per employee per month cost of about $1,328 for fiscal year 26. And then on the contributions established, that would equate to just about $1,100, $1,110 PEPM. We're also incorporated, as I mentioned, the wellness incentive, and then we also have an HSA contribution included in these numbers of about $66.67 per employee per month. Eye chart number 2. So this is looking at the different plans, PPO A, B, and then your high deductible plan. I'll just share look at going to those blue lines. We looked at each plan in itself, and we're looking at the increases that we're seeing. You can see that the PPO plan was really driving your overall spend. So we saw a 52.5% increase in the PPO A plan. Really a lot of high-cost claimants. What's really being driven by that is you have a lot of high-cost claimants. While some of it's being mitigated by your stop loss of 150, you had a significant number of claims that are below that 150,000 threshold, almost 2 times more this year than you had last year when we're looking at claims over 25,000 and higher. And that's what's really driving up the cost of your plan. And there are other variables that are also driving up that spend, but that's the predominant one when we looked at it and did some deep diving. PPOB, you can see, just went up 3.5%, and the high deductible plan actually, as a change, calculated change to rates was a reduction in 14.8%.
I have a question. What do you think is causing the 52.5%?
It's primarily the high cost claimants that are driving it. There's some other variables that are going into that as well, but primarily when we looked at the changes and what's driving it, it's really your high cost claims. So we did, we looked at this into in really depth, and of the 19.7% overall change, about 10.2% of it, so about half of it, is driven by high cost claimants. And then there's variable, just additional trend, right? The expected trend that we would see year to year, and then some other ups and downs. Anything else?
Yeah, and PPOA is your richest plan. So that's where people migrate to if they know they're going to have medical expenses, right?
A knee replacement, yeah, that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, so they're driving there. Last year, that is the only plan that received an increase. And so we believe that some of the migration in the past, the HDHP and PPOB actually created enough savings that it supported PPOA.
Mm-hmm.
But this year we're seeing a difference here, right? And PPOB is even needing an increase.
Yeah.
So we have to, when we're looking at these projections, we have to make sure that not only do you have a solid increase, but that we're protecting the other plans as people migrate. Because once these rates come out, people are going to know that they need to pay more premiums out of their paychecks.
Thank you.
That's a great point.
The PPOB last year, as well as the high deductible healthcare plan, were subsidizing the increase that we saw in PPOA, and that's not happening this year to the extent.
Thank you.
Yep. All right. Great questions. I should stop because I've been rambling for a while. Any other questions? Okay, this is your huge eye chart. And I guess here's the details of the current and projected and the change by all the different categories that we look at when we're doing your rate projection. Again, I'll point you to the bottom line there, that it's really overall an increase of 19.7%. So I think what we're going to do now is get into the details of how we want to look at that from an employee contribution, employer contribution split. All right, get ready, guys. Okay, here we go. So I'm sure most of you can't read this because I'm having a hard time reading it here, but I'll point you to a couple of things. This, we've done a couple contribution examples. So this example is assuming that the existing contribution strategy remains the same. And so the employer contributions are going to go up the 19.7%, and employee contributions are going up 21%. The thing to note here is that in the high deductible healthcare plan, you'll see, even though they had a reduction, right? If on that prior, their costs went down and they were helped subsidizing the other two plans to a certain extent. But we're passing along contributions to this plan as well as to PPO Plan B. Okay, so you can see the percentages there are consistent with within each of the plans. Okay, so here we go. This is the second alternative, and maybe one to maybe consider and potentially we would recommend is under this option. The 25-26 rates are maintaining the existing contribution strategy. What does that mean? You'll see in the high deductible healthcare plan, there's no increases to their premiums. That's a positive thing because it potentially could drive migration for folks into that plan, which is a good thing for your plan, and is a good thing for the members too. They get that HSA contribution. I'm a huge fan of high deductible healthcare plans. And then for the Plan B, the increases are going up 8%. So more mitigated increase in Plan B, But really the heavy lifting is coming from that Plan A. To Mary noted that, folks are having procedures, they're going to that Plan A. And so they're bearing more of the cost and more of the brunt. So their plan are going up 41.4%. And you can see the dollar amounts on the very far right-hand side of what those increases would be. Yeah.
And the thing to point out here is the HDHB called for a negative 14% increase, right? You leave it at a pass. It doesn't impact the employees, and people can move to that plan. We know that there's cushion in case they bring large claims with them, but we feel confident at the 0%. The PPOB increase should have been 3.5%, and by increasing it, it helps any of those PPOA members who move to the PPOB absorb some of their claim increases. So we're not just trying to pass increases along willy-nilly. We're trying to look at this as if they're migrating and where they're going, so that your plan is a little more stable next year.
Yeah, with increases to PPOA, people are going to move to PPOB because it's going to be less expensive for them in the long run, unless they have something. Yeah.
Yeah, and the plan design's a little different, so they will have more, skin in the game. So they're going to have responsibility to pay their a portion of the cost.
Mm-hmm.
So that protects you as well.
Thank you.
Question: what does it do to the reserve? I mean, I side with the 5 million something reserve. Is that it touch at all?
We have priced this so you're not eating into your reserves, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So
the reserves are what percentage of the total?
Reserves are 5.2.
5.2 million. So out of 20 million total.
25%, basically.
Yeah.
20 to 25%, which is pretty healthy.
Yes. Yes.
And we're going to be talking about it, I suppose. The way that we're going to try to normalize. How do we have a 2% increase one year and a 20% increase the next year? It's kind of a little difficult for me because I always think that if you increase it gradually, it felt less. But if you try to increase it very high, at one point or another, there's always this pushback from the employees because they don't understand the difference between their salary increase and the increase in health care.
Yeah.
Health care has been notoriously going up quite a bit every year. And last year was just a freak year for me. I mean, we increased that by 2%.
Right.
Very little.
Correct.
And I wasn't expecting that to come back and haunt us that quick, but it is. And I think we lack the education to move a lot of people to the Mexican plan, which is something that I think most organizations don't have a chance to do. I mean, the more you're deeper into the country, the less availability you have to use the Mexican option, which isn't used much by employees here, which is probably going to be a way to cheapen the process if you have people go to use the Mexican option right away instead of waiting and using it here. I think that the health system in the United States is probably one of the best health systems in the world, but the access to it is very limited. If you want to access it, you have to go to emergency. It's kind of difficult for me to see, well, not difficult for me to see the difference, it's difficult for me to teach the difference between being able to access your doctor right away, the first day, the day you're sick, as opposed to waiting, 2 weeks to access your doctor choice. There's going to be some tough choices for some of us members of the benefit team, but I think I'm going to try to balance that out a little bit. Thanks for the recommendation. And it's an eye-opener, for me anyway, and how fast things change.
Yes, there is ebb and flow, right? And we do see ebb and flows year to year. Yours is more dramatic this year than we would have anticipated for sure. And really, it's those things that you can't predict. You just had like a number of really expensive folks utilizing the plan, and that was really driving up costs. Yeah.
Well,
I think that you can actually predict that with the healthcare system, the highs, because it's not only inflationary, it's the type of medicine people use, it's the type of service you get, it's the high cost of anything, everything. I mean, the hospital here in Vida prides themselves on being one of the best hospitals in the world, but of course you pay for it. And they pride themselves on the stuff they do, the charitable. Well, it's all coming from someplace, right? So when an aspirin costs you $100, I mean, you certainly have some money left over to invest in some charity that you, of your choice, but that doesn't mean that it's cheap or that it's reasonable. Anyway, I'm just not gonna get that. Sorry.
Thank you for your comments. So the one thing I want to point out here is a little bit difference in kind of the employee and employer contributions. On that prior slide, go back. So you can see that the employer is going up 19.7 and the employees going up 21. In this example, again, the high deductible health care plan is not increasing, and that equates to the employer contributions going up 18.9, so a little bit lower, and the employee contributions are going up a little bit more, 26.2%.
Is the fact that we're an older population having an impact on the rates? I mean,
Yes.
is the fact that we're getting older and some of us probably should be in Medicare,
Well,
but.
So age, so there have been
I'm not talking
studies.
about you, obviously, sure, but age has an impact on the health plans because as you get older, you need more medical care. And that's why there's a plan called Medicare that you have to belong to when you're 65. Is that having an impact at all in our population here, or do we get to that point?
So I don't know if we've looked at the changes of average.
Demographics.
Yeah, the demographics and changes in average age. In your population, if the folks are, the new folks coming in aren't offsetting the age of the folks that are, still in the plan. I will say that yes, that as members age, the cost of care and the average cost does increase for sure. It does benefit once the person hits in Medicare eligible, because Medicare does pick up a large portion of the cost of care to members. But yes, as members age, we do see cost increase. But again, I don't think we've looked to see if that's been an impact.
And if
Well,
you're
the reason I
average-
mentioned that is because Supervisor Blanco mentioned the fact that a knee replacement was like a very expensive process now. And that's happening a lot to more elderly people. As we get elderly, we start replacing some parts that aren't.
Well, I think you see that happening with a lot of 50-year-olds too, because they're abusing their bodies and not listening to their bodies. What's really good about the plan is Blue Cross Blue Shield does maintain and ensure that your preventative care is being taken care of. I think a lot of times too, once people retire, they have more time to worry about what's wrong with them, and so the costs go up. Whereas if they're still actively working, they push away. And I'm not saying that they should push away those issues. They should get them treated then, as opposed to waiting. So that just seems to be the way people work.
Right. I just wonder whether we're getting to that stage where a lot of the elderly population are moving into that Plan A and it's creating a surplus of people there.
And I've done some studies and analysis looking at kind of top condition drivers, and it varies by plan and across the country it'll vary. But in general, looking at 50 plus, 50 to prior to 64.99, or 55 to 64.99, like the top three conditions that we see in general are diabetes and related conditions, musculoskeletal conditions, so that would include knees, hips, backs, all that kind of stuff, and then heart conditions. I'll say, coming from the great state of Colorado and Denver, where there's a lot of active people up in the mountains, musculoskeletal tends to be one of our highest ones because the folks are still active in their older age, but they are, as a consequence, we see more musculoskeletal in that age group. Yeah.
Cancer, I thought cancer would be one of them.
Cancer is expensive, but it tends to be kind of number 4. It depends on the group, but yeah, it can vary for sure, and the cost of the drugs and vary. Yep.
There's a lot of items to discuss, and that's what is supposed to happen. We're supposed to make recommendations to the board. The board is supposed to rate the cost and so forth, and what impact it has on employees, and then we'll make a decision.
Any other questions? Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Knew it was coming.
I've heard.
We'll
Get a
move,
quorum together this time.
we'll move on to item number 5, presentation by Condado Informado by Yuma 77, the Yuma County Government Channel.
Bienvenidos al Condado Informado. El día de hoy estoy en el Departamento de Obras Públicas, en la División de Control del Tráfico, que especializa en varias cosas, y tengo a José el día de hoy, que nos va a estar explicando un poquito de qué tantas cosas hace este departamento y esta división.
Nuestra división se dedica a los semáforos, a los letreros y también el control de tráfico.
Entonces se dedica al control de tráfico. Yo sé que estas son cosas bien importantes para nuestra comunidad. Por ejemplo, el servicio a los semáforos. ¿Ustedes qué hacen? ¿Entrenan a la gente? ¿Ustedes instalan los semáforos? ¿O qué es el servicio que hacen?
Son los que trabajan en el semáforo, los tenemos que mandar, obviamente, a que vayan y aprendan de los sistemas que estamos usando. Especialmente ahorita hay nueva tecnología que los estamos mandando para que entrenen y sepan cómo arreglar y programar estos semáforos.
Entonces, muchas gracias por esa información. Ahora, háblame un poquito de los letreros. ¿Qué debe hacer uno cuando mira a uno que esté quebrado o que falta un letrero?
Okay. Lo pueden reportar aquí en nuestro departamento y si no, pueden ir a un website y reportarlo ahí.
Muy bien, porque si falta un alto en un 4 altos, pues ahí puede haber choques, puede haber peligro. Entonces ustedes tratan de responder como de 1 hora a 2 horas. Muy bien. Para esa información, la gente del público puede nomás hablar al teléfono aquí del Departamento de Obras Públicas o meterse a la página de web que mencionaste.
Así
¿verdad?
es.
Ok, muy bien. Ahora, finalmente, ¿alguna otra cosa que este departamento se dedique para cuidar la seguridad del público?
El control de tráfico es para que estén salvo y la seguridad del público.
Muy bien, entonces ahí lo tienen, comunidad del Condado de Yuma. El Departamento de Obras Públicas, específicamente esta división, se dedica a asegurarse que ustedes cuando van manejando o cuando van cruzando ustedes están bien cuidados, así sea por los semáforos o los letreros. Así es que muchas gracias, José, y espero les haya servido esta información. Aquí les dejo la información por si algún día llegan a ver un letrero quebrado. Aquí pueden llamar o se pueden meter a esta página de web. Muchas gracias y nos vemos pronto.
That was short.
Yeah.
Moving on to consent calendar, the following items listed on the consent agenda will be considered as a group or acted upon by one motion with no separate discussion unless the board member so requests. In that event, the item will be removed from the consent calendar for separate discussion and action.
I'd like to discuss item 5 and I think it's the last one, 13. And I'd like to make a motion that we approve everything.
Item number 4 is what withdrawn. Yeah.
Oh, well, that's that liquor license.
Yeah. That was withdrawn.
So items 1 through 4 being removed, and item number 5
And number 9.
9. 5, 9, and 13. Make a motion that we approve the rest of them as presented.
I'll second.
There's a second to approve items 1 through 13 with the exception of 5, 9, and 13. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
With the exception of 4, right?
4 is out.
4 is out.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Moving to
Okay.
section 5.
Item number 5.
Item number 5 is the miscellaneous county property surplus. And I just want to ask who's in charge of it? Nobody's in charge of the disposition of these items.
That's administration staff handles that.
Right. I asked a long time ago that these items be placed first at each of the different cities and towns and so forth as first option. Before we send them, put them out auction to the public, I'd like to at least have an effort to see if the cities of San Luis, Somerton, Welton, any of the entities and non-governmental entities that have access to these items before they're sold on public auction. Sometimes we can do some good with the equipment before it goes out. I mean, do some good to me means provide it to other entities that can still find use, especially vehicles and things like that. that still are usable for other agencies to use, but we feel they live their lives, their useful life. So I just wanted to ask you that was, again, being considered when you go through this process. I know that they're going public action, which is not really any more public action. People, I think of a public action where there's a seller that's going like, sending eggs or something. But this is not that case. This is an online auction. So you have until, I think, you have 4 or 5 days to bid on the items. I don't know what the process is now, but I remember what it used to be, and I remember making that point that, look, this should be, an announcement should be made to these entities whether they need one of these pieces of equipment, they could get it for a fee. Because we have a no gift clause that we follow all the time. So we know that we have to put a price on things. But if they can be used by some of these agencies, I would appreciate it.
Give them first choice at
Give
it,
first choice.
in other words, yeah.
Okay?
Yeah, Supervisor Reyes, for some large ticket items, I know that we do that outreach, but I'll make sure that in the process we look into that.
Well, I wanted to just make the point. So I'll make a motion to provide them 5%.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second to approve item number 5 as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 9, planning and zoning, El Rancho Encantado. And we have,
Thought you were gonna get off easy, didn't you?
Yeah.
I thought I had a easy day today, but
Just had a question. I get a lot of complaints from phase 1 and 2 with all the traffic coming in on 50th Street, since that's the only access point to the next 4 subdivisions, really, I guess, that are going to be going in there. Is there any plans to maybe go with 52nd Street and put it in now with phase 4? So it gives another access for all these construction workers to get into the area without just 50th Street?
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Simmons, at this point, the connection to Foothills Boulevard will be on along 52nd Street will be with probably phase number 6. And at this point, there were no discussion about connecting that, but we can probably have a conversation with the developer and Arturo Alvarez from the engineering department and discuss if there's a possibility for that to alleviate the traffic.
Okay, like I said, I get a lot of complaints of 50th Street, the traffic. And it's mainly all the construction traffic going into phase 3 right now, but now adding phase 4, other than Hunter, that's the only access into it. So,
May I suggest something? I mean, there's a payback agreement that you guys should start looking into with some of these future streets that are going to be needed. When what happens is we allow a lot of the subdivisions to happen without having them take care of some of the costs, and then when you get to phase 6, phase 5, phase 6, then we want them to do the improvements, and it's very expensive. Then it really makes those lots very unaffordable because you're not thinking early about it, and you're not actually building something ahead of time and just having a payback agreement. So when they come in, they'll just pay their portion. So it's just a suggestion that maybe you got to start looking at payback agreements to make sure that the cost is sort of divided into different sections as opposed to just cutting in the last one what you need it now. It's a very expensive proposition to develop some of these streets, especially now with county standards. To leave it to the last phase, 5 or 6, it's sort of making those subdivisions pay the brunt of the demand that is created by all these other phases of development. So maybe when we're looking at an area of development, we start thinking about payback agreements that apply so that the infrastructure is put in there and the cost is divided between the people.
like I said, I know eventually 52nd Street's going to go in with phases. I just didn't know if maybe it could be figured in sooner to allow access into these phases as they're developing, other than just one access point right now, which more or less is 50th Street. So,
and this one's a final plat, so I understand it's gone through a lot of process. It's getting to us, sort of for final approval. It's a little late to think of a payback agreement and hold them back.
I don't want to hold them back. I was just wanting to find out if there was any way, or if they had plans on that to maybe allow more access to the construction area other than just the one street. I think somebody wants to.
Right. Supervisors. Good morning.
Good morning.
Chairman, supervisors, everybody. My name is Ronald Martin. I'm manager of El Rancho Development, LLC. And we expressed our concern for 52nd in our group about 3 months ago. So that is being designed right now. We've already started that process because we wanted to eliminate the same problem for the homeowners that have purchased in our development to have all the construction vehicles use 52nd Street. So we are designing that right now, and we'll be applying to be able to do that as soon as as Doll Robbins is ready to do that. So we already have that in the works. That is going to happen.
Okay,
I gave
cool.
my word on that.
And like I said, I wasn't gonna hold it up. I just
Yeah.
wanted to find out if this was maybe.
But it's the right thing to do too, because it'll put all that traffic down there on the lower end. And then all of our, semis that are delivering material, the lumber trucks, all that stuff, we're gonna have everybody use the lower end so it doesn't go through any of the neighborhoods. We're gonna move our storage yard right at the edge of Phase 4 on the eastern side, so the trucks don't even have to go into the subdivision at all. So we're gonna make sure that that happens. And you know what, I'd like to thank Francisco and Arturo. Everybody jumped through hoops the last couple of weeks to try to get this ready, to get it on the board. And I'll chew ass if I need to, and I'll, let it be known. But when a pat on the back is deserved, the guys really did a good job the last couple of weeks in getting this thing put together so we can get it to you guys. So
But what'd that cost you?
thank you for that.
Thank you, Ron. Thank you.
Thank you for that.
All right. Yeah, okay. No, I wasn't gonna hold it up. It was just I pulled it, so I had that question, so.
It's needed. I agree, 100%.
Okay, so I don't have anything with that. I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second to
Thank
approve
you.
item number 9 as presented. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 13.
No, this one is a little bit different for me because I've seen it happen on the educational field a long time. I mean, I've been witness to this. This is sort of like a way that the teachers get to retire and then go back to work immediately. I don't know, the county seems to be moving that way, and I see that as part of that progression. I just don't particularly like it, and I wanted to make a point that, look, if somebody wants to retire, it's because they worked years at some place. The fact that somebody wants to retire and come back to work at the same place doesn't lead me to believe that it's really retirement. It's just a way to double dip, is what we call it in the private sector. You just get paid for what you were doing through this company while you're doing the same job. So it doesn't help the county's finances to have the retirement plan pay, which a retirement plan is a retirement plan. You contribute to it. I don't know. I don't have any qualms about anybody pulling their retirement. It just seems to me like we're getting closer to what teachers do, and it's the kind of stuff that out in the public sector is looked at with a frown. I looked at it with a frown when I was in the private sector, and I am not very I'm not very bound to create any waves. I just wanted to make sure that you understood that to me, that is okay. But it's going to create more cost somehow because people, when they get to a certain age, they've been in the same job for 20 years. Their salary is not commensurate to getting a new person to serve that job. And so I hope that when we do this kind of thing, we take that into consideration. At the moment somebody retires, they lose all their seniority to me. And they should understand that. Because what they're going to come back to is what they used to be. And that's not really saving us any money. That's just making sure that that person has seniority, remains at that job almost forever until they just can't do it anymore. That's not really cutting costs for the county. That's really benefiting the employee, which I have no problem with. I just want to say that. I have no problem with the employee receiving the benefit of their hard-earned retirement. It's just that, like vacation and PTO, I feel people have lost sight of the fact that vacations and PTO were designed to give people a break from their jobs, and now it's being saved up so that you get it paid at the end of the year or something, or at the end of your cycle. That's not what it's designed for. It's designed to give people a break. It's designed to people who will take it, not save it, to negotiate with it later. I just find that to be a little difficult to accept, but not that difficult, but a little difficult. I just wanted to make the point. Okay?
And I totally disagree. So with that, the
I'm
whole.
like a true teacher, right? Former teacher.
I totally disagree. There are some very, very valuable employees in our ranks who, after 30 years, it doesn't pay to stay in their position, even though they're really, really young. And if they started with the county right out of high school or right out of college, they're very young. And what we're doing is we're losing all of our experience to other places. we're losing them to, they retire from here and they go work for somebody else and pull down a retirement from there. They don't retire, they just leave us and go somewhere else. Well, we're losing all that historical knowledge that is important for the county. And these people are also realize that they're at-will employees when they come back and are only, they're only there as long as they're pulling their weight and doing the job that they were doing before. So it's not like everybody gets to do it either. It has to go through leadership before they can do return to work.
I'm sure he's gonna agree with that.
Yeah,
So what I'm saying is, look, I don't have a problem with the fact that people want to retire at the time they need to retire. I should have retired when I was 20 years old, 20 years working. I could, but that's not the point. The point is when you retire. I know. Well, either you retire or they retire you, but the point that I'm making is when somebody's been working for 25 years, 30 years for the county, they get paid a certain amount of money. And yes, you have to retrain someone and it costs money to retrain. But that's just a natural cycle of life in general. I mean, you work for a long time and you retire and you go do something else and somebody else comes in and you train them. Yeah, I see that as a normal cycle. This is not normal. This is invented by teachers to come back to the same job to get paid the same thing. I understood that, and I don't have a problem with that. When it comes to the county, I have to think, okay.
It's not only teachers.
Well, now it's not only teachers, but because now everybody's finding that they can do this. And it's technically, it's not my money, it's the people's money that I'm looking at. And I'm looking at a situation where if you come back at the same level, at the same job that you had before, just because you work for this company, ESI, doesn't mean that the county is saving money. It means they're getting the same thing for the same amount of money from the same person that is now getting a retirement that we actually pay half of it for.
Chairman Porches and members of the board, Jessica Rodriguez, Human Resources Director. If I may just explain a little bit about the intent of this and how it will be utilized. The concerns that you've posed are completely understandable, and I'm actually happy that you're asking these questions to allow me an opportunity to explain how we will utilize this. For example, only certain positions are eligible for this program. So ESI has full authority to determine if a position would even be onboarded with them contractually or not. So the first step is ensuring that they would even be eligible to enter in a contract with ESI. If they are, then we would look at people who are looking at retiring, just like Supervisor Pancrazi mentioned, who are young enough to continue to work, but would like to reap the benefits of their retirement, but don't want to leave the county. So how I envision this working for the county, where we have someone who would retire, they would then get onboarded into this contract through ESI, and we would pay them at a percentage less than what they were making as an employee with the county, because we also have to pay fees that ESI has associated with their services. So we would reduce their salary down to a point where we would not be paying any more than what we would be paying to employ them as an employee. Once they finish their 12-month contract with ESI, then they would have the ability to come back. And that would be, and for me, a goal would be for succession planning. We would bring them back and have them train somebody who would then be able to take their place in the future. But while they're under the contract, we would not fill the vacancy that the county would carry. So the salary savings that would be incurred through the vacancy would be utilized to fund the contract. So there would be no cost associated in addition to us employing them.
Until he gets hired back. Until that person gets
Once they're
back.
hired back, then they would negotiate their salary at the same rate of pay as when they retired.
That's what I mean when I say, look, retirement is retirement. I understand the concept of retirement and coming back to work, but I also understand what that means eventually. It eventually means you're paying someone for the experience that they left. I mean, they had when they left, excuse me. So I get that. And I totally agree that some people, teachers in this particular case, learned that a long time ago. I went through that wake up situation a long time ago. So I know that's more than teachers now. But those are the kind of things that create the impression that people are just retiring young and coming back. Now, if they went to work for somebody else, then that's a different story for me because they chose that. And succession planning is something that we should all be planning for, especially older people like me. Should be planning for, and I am sure that there is succession planning going on in some of the different areas of employment. But it should be a requirement that you should train someone to take over when you leave. It should be part of our system. Not that we hire them back once they spend a year contracted by somebody else to do the same job they were doing, and then hire them back, taking into account all their experience and everything, and give them a salary that was commensurate to what they had before. That's, to me, is typical double dipping. You get in your retirement, you're still doing the work you were doing before you retire. What's the difference now?
Go ahead.
No.
So if I may answer, we're able to retain, to Supervisor Pancrazi's point, it allows us to retain the institutional knowledge and experience.
There's the word, institutional knowledge. Thank you.
So instead of losing an employee to a private competitor or to a non-ASRS employer, we can retain those services and we can keep all of their knowledge and their experience and use that to prepare us for the time that they do decide to completely walk away.
Well, they should decide to completely walk away when they retire, according to me. But anyway, look, I'm not going to take that long time. I just wanted to make sure that you understand I was not very comfortable with the situation. I will vote for it to happen because I think that there's going to, but if we leave it to human resources to decide who qualifies or not, or leave it to the ESI people who qualifies or not, that's leaving that, even that decision that you're so careful to protect, Supervisor Pancrazi, it's being left to somebody else to decide, and that's not even that good. I think that should be available to anyone that wants to access that.
No, I think that's
That's
well,
the whole
because
problem,
I mean,
yeah.
there's some employees, I would say, and I'll say it right now, that shouldn't be working for the county. No, it's serious. I mean, if you're mentioning about double, retiring, I think this is something that as someone that started really young and you put in 30 years or 35, well, you deserve to be compensated and paid more, but because they're not going to get paid more. We have a scale, they reach a limit, and that's why a lot of employees leave, because they're not going to get to they reach that level and they're not. So being that they reach that retirement or points of the system, I mean, rewarding certain employees that are good employees that we know that they're doing something for the county. I agree that we should be rewarded that way. I mean, some employees that you want them to retire tomorrow or today, but
you want to retire yourself. Well, look, I could have done this. What I'm doing right now, I could have left it 6 or 8 years ago. I met all the points, but I decided I love what I do, and I wanted to keep on doing it as long as I could. That's a decision that every individual makes. But when there's an option to go out and come back to work for the same amount, I think that makes it sort of simple. But it doesn't really save money, the county that much money. Yes, we lose the institutional knowledge, but we should be getting ready because institutional knowledge should be passed on. That's a legacy that institutional people who retire should have retired when they need to retire, when they want to retire, and should leave someone that can do what they do before they left. That succession planning is not just a nomenclature. I understand this deal about not losing institutional knowledge. I do get it, but that's like every administrator thinks they have institutional knowledge nobody can do. Most of them, anyway. Some of them we want them off anyway. But when they retire and they come back, yes, you don't lose institutional money, but did you save any money? I mean, that's what's happening right now at the federal level.
I'm thinking of folks like engineers and
there's key positions that we
Let me ask you a couple of questions that may help me make the decision easier for me. Do they come back to the same level of employment? I mean, do they start again with the retirement, or the retirement's over?
They would not be eligible for retirement.
That makes it easier for me.
Drawing off of Arizona State retirement already.
You can't get a lower retirement.
Okay.
And the county would be paying into Arizona State Retirement so that Arizona State
Without admitting my age, I guess I should be
won't be harmed by this program. So that, and that's part of why you don't get your.
You've got to look at it this way. you've got to look at it this way, and I can think of one person just right offhand for some reason. Richard Rodriguez at Public Works. There's a man that retired. He came back under this program. The contacts he's made over the years, not just institutional knowledge, but knowledge of the people inside, in the county. And those contacts, if we lose that, contacts are one of the biggest things as far as knowing who to go to get something done. And like I said, I don't mean to pick on him, but I know Richard's been around forever. He's been around since I've been around. And the knowledge that he has, if we had lost that, I feel it would have really hurt the service that the county provides to the people, public. So, I'm for this. I think it's a good thing if we can keep them around.
I'm for it too.
All right.
Just wanted to make sure that everybody knows that's in the
Okay.
region, but I'm for it. It's okay, it's another tool.
I make a motion that we approve number
13.
13.
100%.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second to approve item 13 as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Other retirees?
Now you get retired, come back. It's not the BCIS.
You got 3 retirees here.
I know.
Okay, it's about time you retired.
I know, but look, I like to make that choice myself, but I should have made it like 6 years ago, giving all the abuse I'm taking lately. Now, let's go on.
We love you, Tony. We love you.
Moving on to planning and zoning agenda. Full legal description of the property sites for the rezoning case are available for public review at Yuma County Board of Supervisors office. Rezoning regular public hearing items, staff will make a full presentation on each of the following items, followed by separate discussion, public hearing, and action by the Board of Supervisors. Item number 1, rezoning case number 24-21.
Before you begin, let me make a statement about this. I'm familiar with the case because we started it some time ago. We said we're gonna proceed with this. I don't know if I need another explanation about what we're doing here, because I think that that's a commitment we made some time ago that we weren't gonna let this go off like that. So although I can see you making your case in point here, I don't think that I need to. I'm just gonna listen to you because I have listened to you, but I think that this is one of those things that we made an agreement a long time ago not to let it go unsolved. I mean,
Debbie and Mary, have a safe trip.
Oh, you know what?
I just wanted to let you know you already have my vote.
I opened the wrong, I went on the wrong.
Really?
Wrong item, yeah. So it's the.
Is a hearing?
The item number 1, the.
Discussion and action items, huh?
Planning and zoning hearing case, officer case number H023-0058 and HO22-0131. Okay, here we go.
Morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. We're here to, Carlos Gonzalez, Senior Deputy Zoning Inspector, here to present a request to refer hearing officer cases HO23-0058 and HO22-0131 to the County Attorney's Office for abatement. This case involves one property that has gone through the hearing officer process twice, in which the owner has failed to correct the violations. Mr. Chairman, did you wish me to proceed with the full presentation?
I want to see
I don't need a
pictures.
full presentation, like I said.
Yeah,
And I'm not a fan of, very much of a fan of presentations, but I'll tell you, you don't need to present it to me.
If you just want to show a picture of what it looks like.
Oh, picture, yeah, show a picture.
I think Lynn wants to.
I want to see the pictures, if that's okay. Oh, my gosh.
This is the property on the northwest corner of Mesa Avenue and Ranch Drive there on the Del Sur Estate. The defendant has been informed via constable service and through certified mail of the 2 cases. In the first case, they failed to attend any of the hearings. This is the most recent case, and I can tell you right now from my last inspection yesterday, I think there's more junk on the property, to be honest. This is the case, like I said, 0058. With the storage of the recreational vehicle, desiccated trees and brush, junk, inoperable vehicles, discarded appliances. This is the backyard looking through the easement where there's a scrap wood, boats, and more inoperable vehicles. This is the first case Also with the storage of junk, again, they were officially notified of the zoning violations. As you can see, the property looks almost the same. The defendant has truly failed to make any improvements on the property. These are as of January 6th. You can almost not even see the difference. Pictures I took on January 6th for this presentation. And again, that's the backyard.
Thank you.
All right.
I'll go make a motion if you need to. I'll make a motion that we go ahead and submit this or allow the county attorney to submit this into Superior Court for the case to be heard by a judge.
I'll second. I also want to make a comment though too. We're starting to see more cases like this that are coming to abatement, and just the ones that are problems. We've got to start acting on them faster and getting results quicker. Because as you can sit there and show, this is 3 years old. This has been going on for 3 years. I know anybody in here, if this was next to their house, they would be screaming to the ceiling about having to live next to something like this.
Well, the
It's-
danger of
I think
the
we need to
fire
put our
danger.
money
Well-
in our pockets and create a fund that the abatement can go through a process where there's a fund to access to, so we could actually, the county can actually go in there and fix it. And, you know, even if we're. leaving
We
the
do have a
property,
fund.
We do have fund.
Yeah.
But you gotta go through this process.
Yeah. But we need to move the process along as fast as we can.
If somebody doesn't follow the hearing officer's indications within, say, 2 or 3 months, it should be enough time for you guys to say, look, we've done enough and we're just gonna take it to the next level. I'm more than glad to take it to the next level. I agree with what you said a minute ago, but if I live next to that, I would say, hey, let's get it done.
Nobody should have to live next to that. One, you got the fire hazard, you've got the rodent problem that comes with something like this. And it's upon the county to go after these people because they just more or less wave it in our face by not doing anything. And I'm not saying all of them. I mean, you're talking probably 3 or 4% of the ones that we deal with, you know, as far as citing or sending them a notice. Most of them clean it up. They do a good job. You know, everything's good. But you still have that small percentage that is going to more or less just ignore you. I don't care if you fine them or whatever. We've got to start making an example. And I think if we do, it'll take care of that other small percentage, hopefully, to realize that the county's serious. We need to get these places cleaned up.
And I see Maggie.
So
I think there's statutes.
Chairman stated earlier, we do have that process where the cases have to go through the hearing officer process twice. The rules have been revised to reflect that we give them approximately 180 days per process. So when you look at both of them, that's at least a year probably is from the time we get the initial complaints. And then to start the abatement process. Yes, it is a little bit time consuming, Mr. Simmons. But
Well, like I said, people who live next to this shouldn't have to. And it ties up your time, you know, having to go out there and re-inspect it and follow up on it. You know, it's something that we just need to streamline it the best we can to make sure that these things are getting fixed and addressed. So.
Maggie.
One option that we have is currently in cases like this, if a property goes through the violation process and it's not cleaned up the first time, if we receive another complaint, it goes to the process a second time. If the property is not cleaned up after the second time, then it's when staff brings it before you to refer it to the county attorney's office. We could change, one option is to change the policy to where the case only goes through the process once before we bring it before you to refer to the county attorney's office.
So it's a policy?
Yes. Can we change it?
I thought last time we talked about this, the county attorney said that we had to go through those steps.
This item on the agenda, Chairman, is for the abatement regarding this particular case. So should you want to discuss a policy or regarding abatements or the process for the zoning violation hearings, that should be on another agenda.
No, but I mean, it's, we've asked this. I didn't know it was a policy because we talked about it last time. So let's, if it can be changed, then that's what we were talking about, make it streamlining it. So, well, yeah, I guess we can do that.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, it was a recommendation of the county attorney's office.
Mhm. All right.
Ian, let's bring it back.
Will do, yeah.
Well,
I don't
let's make
remember
sure the
exactly
due
when
process
that
is taken into account, but that due process shouldn't take 3 years.
Yeah. We'll bring that policy back on a future agenda.
Okay,
thanks.
All
Thank you,
right.
Mike.
There's a motion and a second to refer this case to county attorney's office for abatement. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to planning and zoning agenda. Regular public hearing items, staff will make a full presentation on each of the following items, followed by separate discussion, public hearing, and action by the Board of Supervisors. Item number 1, rezoning case number 24-21.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Not sure.
Rezoning case 2421 is a request to change parcel 4.77 gross acres in size from suburban ranch 4 acres minimum to suburban ranch 2 acres minimum. The property is located in the Dome Valley Walton planning area, southwest corner of Alignment County 13 3/4 Street and Avenue 28E in Walton. The intent is to split the subject property into 2 parcels. This is the zoning map. The subject property, it's highlighted in red in the center with the crosshatch. Property is surrounded by RA5, RA40, and across the street on Avenue 28E on the east, it's zoned SR1. This is the aerial view of the subject property. Property is highlighted in red, outlined in blue. Aerial view of the subject property. This is a picture looking west of the subject property. MCS provided comments not in support of this request. We also received 1 letter in opposition from the adjacent properties neighbors. Property highlighted in red is the property that is in opposition to this request.
Didn't make it so that it requires a supermajority, does it?
No, Mr. Chairman. The zoning case 2421, Planning and Zoning Commission recommends approval. Planning and Zoning Commission recommends attaching the performance conditions within 60 days of approval by the Board of Supervisors. The owner or agent shall record an infrastructure range and a schedule for development disclosure statements. For the schedule for development, within 5 years of approval by the Board of Supervisors, the property shall be split in accordance with Section 507 of the Yuma County zoning ordinance. And that concludes staff presentation, and the applicants are present.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't want to ask a question. I want to ask a question of legal. This is one of those issues where the goal, the range, is made it clear to us anyway. They make it clear every time. It just seems to me they don't ever go sometimes that within a half mile of the range there shouldn't be anything below 5 acre parcels. Now, that is supposed to be statute. Now, it's supposed to be, but it's not to me. So you're new at this. You're going to be facing that question again and again and again. Do we have to? Maggie, you stood up, but she's going to say something. But this is kind of one of those situations where, I mean, the horse hasn't left the barn on this one. I mean, there's still a decision to be made, but it's pretty clear to me that MCAS feels that they can say yes or no, and that we should follow some sort of statute that protects them. And every time we make this decision, I seem to think that we're sort of challenging. One of these days, they're going to say, "Well, let's see who prevails on this one." And I don't know if this is one of those cases, but Maggie, I think you're going to tell.
Mr. Chairman, Maggie Castro, Planning and Zoning Director. So the density in place within the distance of this property to the range was established through an amendment to the comprehensive plan. That amendment was triggered by a study that was done in 2005, which is the Barry M. Goldwater Range Joint Land Use Study. And the recommendations that were part of that study were incorporated into the comprehensive plan. MCS gets an opportunity to comment on all rezoning cases, all special use permit cases, all variance cases, and they do formulate whether they are in support or in opposition to the cases that are forwarded to them for review. In this case, they are in opposition to approval of this request, and staff's recommendation is also for denial.
Let me ask this question again. Are we up against a statute, or are we up against just the right to make the right to write a letter of opposition or something? Are we up against statute? That's the question.
Mr. Chairman, this would not be contrary to state statute. It is a density that was placed in the comprehensive plan.
All right. So you think the comprehensive plan gives us protection against this situation with the Marine Corps?
The comprehensive plan designates this area or recommends a density of 1 dwelling unit per 5 acres.
Which is next to it? Yellow. The yellow section is one
right across the street.
The underlying land use designation is rural density residential.
When was it?
Which allows 1 dwelling unit per 2 acres. However, the property is within half a mile of the Barry M. Goldwater Range, and the recommendation in place for that is 1 dwelling unit per 5 acres.
So
Across the street is 1 acre lots,
Yeah.
right?
1 acre
When were they done?
Years ago.
Mr. Chairman, it's an old subdivision. It was done prior to the adoption of the comprehensive plan.
Got it.
You see, one of the things that I'll say about that property or that area there, you know, some of the landowners, when this happened, they didn't know about it, that they could do something before or be against the comprehensive plan because of the Barry Goldwater being there. And I said, if we experienced, my ex-father-in-law he doesn't have a property there anymore, but it was 4 acres or something. And by the time he wanted to do something, it was too late because this happened. So, you know, he just let it go. It's a lot of people don't know or weren't aware. You know, yeah, you send a letter, but
it would have been easier.
People don't live there because those addresses, those areas don't even have a house there or, you know, mailing address. So, but you see other, you know, all those yellow, I mean, they did it before.
They did it a long time ago.
Yeah, but not a long time. It was in 2005. So it's you know.
It's 20 years ago.
I
It
have
wasn't
a
a long time
question.
ago.
Well, Mr. Chairman, the subdivision that is directly across the street from the subject property was platted in either the 60s or the 70s. So
okay.
it was way before the adoption of the comprehensive plan.
Mm-hmm.
Question, Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Maggie? Okay, never mind.
Okay, I'll ask you the
Oh,
question.
they were sent a letter. I lost my train of thought. Everybody was sent a letter that says comprehensive plan has been changed to that. Were they?
Mr. Chairman, in the case of this specific amendment, the individual property owners did not get a letter. They did, there was a notice published in the newspaper informing residents of the changes that were taking place.
You know, what I'm saying, Mega, is just the process. And not everybody gets the paper. Not everybody reads English.
Yeah, I know.
So I'm just saying the process, it's not, I know it's the process, but it's just a lot of it's not fair for a lot of those landowners that they could have said, oh, okay, you know what, I still have time, maybe I'll split it before this comprehensive plan kicks in.
May I ask a question? Why did the staff say no? I mean, I know the point system, which is only got to 250, 300. Was it the comprehensive plan said that it wasn't appropriate? Is that what you use as a basis? Because normally I understand the staff uses a basis for their either approval or denial. You use a very non-subjective, non-opinionated basis. You just simply go by the book. Normally, you go by the book. So this time I saw that you didn't, you actually, yes, it's just a denial, or you actually said staff wants a denial on this. And then I saw I went to the Planning and Zoning Commission, and he went through by a 5-3 vote, which was, there was a discussion about affordability, there was a discussion about a lot of stuff. But I just wanted to get a better sense of why staff said no, and I didn't read it there. So it's because of the plan?
The recommendation of staff is based on the density in place established by the comprehensive plan.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for staff? I'll go ahead and open up the item to the public, and I do have two speaker forms. And I have Mary Ellen Finch from MCAS.
Yeah.
You want to go first?
Does the applicant speak first? Or you go ahead?
Oh, the applicant, okay. Kayleen?
Good morning, Chairman Porches and board members of the board. My name is Kayleen Gottwald, and I have resided here in Yuma for almost 4 years now. But after I moved here, I lived here for about a year and a half, and that's when I kind of started looking for property because I had decided I wanted to live here permanently. I loved it so much. And so when I started looking for land, I looked for land specifically because I do have horses and livestock that I would like to live on property with. And so unfortunately, in the city of Yuma and surrounding areas, it was a little bit out of my budget. So I did find this lot in Welton. And I do love the lot. I've held on to it, obviously, I purchased it in April of 2022. So after I purchased the lot, I had gone a little bit over my budget in purchasing the initial lot. And so when I really dug down into the construction costs and even the mobile home manufacturers here, I went and discussed property or housing options with them, septic, well costs, electric costs, all of that stuff to get in. And unfortunately, it was much more than I had anticipated. So I'm simply here today. Thank you again for letting me address you this morning. I'm simply here to just seek a favorable outcome. I'm only asking to split it into 2 separate lots. My current plan and trajectory to be able to put a home for myself and my animals there is looking, probably a 4 to 5 year plan right now. And by being able to at least split the lot and potentially put one of the lots up for sale and sell it, that would make this more of a 2 to 3 year plan for me. So I absolutely can appreciate the comments made by the county. Just for your knowledge, I hadn't received a letter about Barry Goldwater. That might have been something that maybe I missed, or perhaps it was not provided to me by my realtor at the time. So I just want to put that on the record for you guys. I hadn't seen any information about that. So yeah, that's really all I have. Again, thank you very much for your time today. And yeah, if you have any questions for me, I'd be happy to answer them for you.
Any questions for the applicant?
No.
Thank you. Mary Ellen?
Good morning. Good morning. Mary Ellen Finch, Community Planning and Liaison Director at MCAS Yuma. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, as you're obviously in receipt of our letter requesting denial of this rezoning, the property is currently zoned SR4, which is 4 acre minimum. This is within a half mile of the BMGR where the current, and we're requesting to continue 5 acre minimum. So just shy of 5 acres, I think it's like 4.77. So this would fall within that. But any increased density, we're not in favor of.
Any questions?
No, I think it's pretty clear. I mean, I've read it.
Don't want to be a dead horse.
Anybody else from the public? I'll close the public hearing, bring it back to the board.
I'm trying to figure. And I understand what the owner's wanting to do, but we also need to, I don't know, I know how close that is to the range. It's very close. So with that, I'm going to recommend denial on the split.
Is that a motion or?
Yes.
I'll second.
But it's in your district, so I'm supposed that you get to deal with that a lot closer than we do. But I mean, obviously, we're talking about a shortage of housing, but.
Well, I understand what she's wanting to do. It's just, like I said, it's just so close.
So, yeah, okay, we have, before I'll call for the vote, I just, we've seen several cases like this, but you know, I mean, I don't have anything against the Marine base. It's something that it's economic good for here for Yuma County, but you know, it's just they get to when the Marines start telling you where you can do a house or when you can, you know, have a family, that gets a little bit, you know, to me personally, gets a little bit too much. You know, it's not only being close to the Marine, to the bombing base, to the range or the base, but now it's even the noise that the jets 65, and if you're aware, Supervisor Pancras, that they want to expand that, so it puts us in a disadvantage. When we just heard Greg Levon from Greater Yuma Economic Development to bring or attract businesses here, that takes away. It does. And I know a lot of people don't want to say it, but it is true. You know, I'm not saying it, you know, the base is great here. It does great for Yuma County, but there's got to be a line when we start saying, well, you know what? Do we want to see Yuma County grow? Because we are surrounded by land, by agricultural land that we're not gonna, we don't want to give up. But then we have the mesa or all the desert, and if we're gonna let the MCAS or the bombing range impede us from growing, then what are we spending all this money on to attract businesses? That's just my take. So there's a vote, there's a motion and a second. Against or no? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. I'll like to explain my vote, because in reality, what I want to do is give them some sort of guidance. I mean, you can actually do a house on 5 acres. The splitting of the house was just because it was economically more easy to do it the other way, but you can actually use it. It's 4.7 acres, I understand, but I think if you had asked for a building permit, you might have gotten it. To split it in two is just a difficult thing for me, considering the fact that it's less than, I looked at, that one is the one I wanted to see, because if it had been on this corner, it wouldn't have been any choice. I think that you're next to the Marine Corps, you need to understand that there's supposed to be a buffer. That's in the opposite corner. So it was difficult for me to vote. I basically voted because it's not my district, and I think that we have to give some leeway to the person that is in that district about this. But again, and I understand the Marine Corps' position, they take that position because it's the only position they can take. So I understand that. I understand the need for affordability. I am in development in some ways. I understand what it means to build a house out there in the middle of nowhere.
And the air traffic in that area is very high. I guess that's the way to put it.
Well, you got Coyote Wash about quarter mile to the east. There's about
Coyote Wash, that's 12, 15, it's about a mile and a half.
Mile and a half?
North of there.
It's in Wilton. So.
Like I said, I understand what she's wanting to do, but like I said, I've been out there for 30 plus years, and I know the air traffic that comes through that area, paralleling the range right there, and a lot of times over this subdivision, the Welton Hills area. They get a lot of air traffic through there. So that's my main concern. Like I said, I understand what she's wanting to do, and I wish I could, do something. But
I think we went 3 to 1.
3 to 1.
So it was 3 to 1.
3 to 1.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
And Chairman Porteous, you were the...
Yeah. No. All right, moving on to item discussion and regarding legislative issues. Alejandro.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Alejandro Figueroa, Economic Development and Intergovernmental Affairs. Great, so I'll start my presentation with the state, just mentioning that there's been more than 38 already gone from this session. More than 1,800 bills have been introduced and one vetoed by the governor yesterday, as a matter of fact. Some of the key legislative session deadlines, as you can see on the screen, February 21st is that is the last day, a couple of days, will be the last day for hearings in the Chamber of Origin. On the next week, it's crossover week. And then March 28th is the last day for hearings in the opposite chamber. The bill that the governor vetoed was HB 2703, the early voting tabulation ballot deadlines. That's the governor, the bill passed along party lines, so out of both chambers, and it served as a substitute for Senate President Warren Peterson's SB 1011. The governor's claimed on her letter, and I quote, "This legislation effectively ends the active early voting list, something that has nothing to do with faster election results, but disenfranchises voters by adding additional steps for hundreds of thousands of Arizona voters who prefer to vote by mail." And on some other news, Governor Katie Hobbs relaunched the Arizona Space Commission, appointing 7 leaders from industry, science, and education, among them City of Yuma Mayor Doug Nichols, to help spearhead the effort. The commission will identify potential projects that would advance Arizona's position in the industry and plan and implement aerospace-related educational opportunities in Arizona. The ACA, the Arizona Commerce Authority, will support the work of the commission, which is required to develop and publish a strategic plan every 2 years. Moving on to SB 1212, biosolids land application and immunity. And I would like to, first of all, thank Supervisor Pancrase for her leadership and getting involved with this bill specifically and helping staff position Yuma County. We attended, the Yuma staff and Supervisor Pancrase attended a stakeholder meeting last week, or a couple of weeks ago actually, with sponsor of the bill, Senator Tim Dunn. And we convey our concerns to him and to the group attending the meeting. As you can see on the screen, the bill, it's supposed to update regulations on biosolids applied to ag lands and clarifies both state level oversight and the responsibilities of ag leases. Under this bill, lessees on state lands must comply with federal, state, and local requirements, and they cannot be denied lease renewal for using these products unless there's a violation documented by ADEQ. It also provides legal immunity to the State Land Commissioner and relevant state agencies when these rules are followed, thereby reducing liability for state entities. It additionally mandates updated rules through the Ag Best Management Practices Committee, alongside in-person site visits to operations actively using biosolids, guaranteeing input from affected Yuma County producers before finalizing any new regulations. So the bill was heard on the Senate Natural Resources Committee, which is co-chaired by Senator Dunn, and it passed along party lines on February 17. That means that it is very likely to be vetoed by Governor Hobbs unless it addresses some of our concerns and other stakeholders who are also raising concerns about the safety of applying biosolids endlessly and the implications that could have on groundwater. So Yuma County proposed some of the amendments to the sponsor, and we have yet to hear back. Some of the amendments are the look into the application condition and application rate, nitrogen concentration levels, the testing and treatment of biosolids prior to application for any harmful contaminants, the impacts to the surrounding community, including odors and pests, other site-specific limitations such as depth, groundwater, and soil content, vector attraction reduction procedures, and different limitations on septic and sewage biosolids. And lastly, we also included Supervisor Pancrase's recommended amendment, which is dedicating a person at ADEQ specifically to oversee the biosolid program across the state of Arizona. So that's what I have for you on SB 1212. There is a good opportunity for negotiating a couple of those amendments into the bill, so it has any chances to get signed eventually. If not, the sponsor will have to figure out what else he can do with it, because at this point, if it doesn't receive the support from any Democrats I don't see it going anywhere, honestly. I also like to.
Mr. Chair and Alejandro, the only thing, PFABs is one of the things that I wanted to, and that's, would that be covered under, I remember you said something about
Sure.
checking into.
Right, Mr.
Checking
Chairman,
it
Supervisor Cressy,
for-
we're looking into checking into any harmful
There you go.
contaminants
There you
that
go.
the biosolids
Harmful
may
con-
contain.
Yes.
As far as PFAS specifically, the state does not have any requirements. They don't have to measure it, or there's no threshold at this point in time for PFAS. I'm hopeful that eventually we will have some of that in place, but at this point in time, we're only focusing on any contaminants overall that may be coming in through those biosolids from out of state.
Mr. Chair and Alejandro, I attended a presentation where the U of A is working with firefighters statewide on PFAS, whatever, and the fact that the higher rate of cancer and other illnesses in firefighters, and so anyway, because of them. So that's my concern.
But and this bill doesn't mention anything about the quantity, huh?
No.
No, sir. That's why we're asking them to consider limiting the amounts they apply.
They want legal immunity.
Yep. That's what the
Okay,
state's looking for.
obviously,
It's not looking
wow.
to help it. It feels to me like we're doing this in an agricultural area that has so much protection for agriculture that it's almost impossible to get anything done that isn't. I mean, they're going to say it's agricultural related, and that's going to cover them. They're out of the rule system for the counties. I mean, we can't apply
No.
normal rules of anything when it's agricultural use. So to me, it's been so watered down that by now it's not going to do what we wanted it to do. It's just going to do whatever, kind of provide more legal.
Since we have Mr. Chair and Tony and Alejandro, that's why I wanted somebody who would be the czar or oversee the process at the Department of, I wanted a new employee, a new FTE whose job it would be to oversee biosolids and septage statewide, so that we don't end up being California's
We
toilet.
already are.
I
They
know.
don't care.
I know, but
Obviously,
any more,
They
any,
talk so much about California, and here they
Any
are
more.
letting them come in here.
I know.
Huh?
So I know, they do, yes. They talk about it all the time, yes. Don't California my Arizona, and that's what they're doing. Anyway, oh well, those were my comments.
Mr. Chair, if I may, I'll continue with HCR 2021. It's not on the presentation, but I'd like to also inform the board, as you probably know already, food tax bill.
Yeah.
It passed along party lines in the House Ways and Means Committee. The mayors of Yuma and San Luis were present at the hearing and expressed their concerns in opposition to the bill in its current form. The League of Cities and Towns supports an amendment proposed by Representative Livingston that would grandfather in any city currently imposing a food tax. Unfortunately, Representative Biasucci, who sponsors the bill, is still not fully convinced of this, and they still have a lot of conversations going on about this. The Senate, from what my understanding is, the Senate is not completely convinced of voting on the bill on its current form, so they're also putting some pressure on the sponsor to accept the amendment and move along.
Oh, good.
If I'm aware of that, Alejandro, the amendment simply requires that those 1,500 square feet, which was in the original bill, become a 4,000 square foot lot, and that the city still has some regulations that apply, like setbacks and stuff like that. A 5,000 square foot lot.
We're not-
On the
Food tax.
Oh, the
We're on
food
food
tax.
tax.
I'm sorry.
Go back to sleep.
I was going to say, I missed that on
I thought he
the
moved on.
I didn't see that on that bill, but.
The food tax, yeah.
Yes, yes.
I
So it's
thought
just.
that the spokesman, that Representative Bellucci, whatever his name is, I thought that he was more focused on the housing bill.
He is also focused on that.
Okay, well,
Yeah,
that's
there-
why I wasn't so
He's
much.
got a couple of big
Got a couple of big
items on this
Mhm.
session, absolutely. This is one of them for sure.
Good.
Here's another one that I would like to seek the board's, if I may, seek the board's guidance and opinion on this. HB 2928, which is the accessory dwelling units requirements by Representative and Majority Leader Carbone. It requires counties to adopt specific ADU regulations by January 1, 2026, or ADUs will automatically be permitted without restriction on all residential zone lots. The bill requires counties to allow at least one attached and one detached ADU on any lot zoned for single-family use, plus an additional detached ADU on lots of at least 1 acre if at least one ADU meets restricted affordable criteria. Each ADU may be up to 75% of the gross floor area of the single-family dwelling, or 1,000 square feet, whichever is smaller. Further, the bill prohibits counties from barring ADU rentals, mandating prior relationships between ADU occupants and the owner, or requiring additional parking or fees in lieu of parking, or compelling design uniformity with the main dwelling, or imposing stricter height, setback, and lot coverage rules than those for single-family dwellings. It also precludes setting rear or side setbacks beyond 5 feet, requiring new street improvements solely due to ADU construction, or imposing restrictive covenants for ADUs. While local building, fire, and health codes remain in effect, ADUs need not to comply with commercial building standards or include fire sprinklers, and they cannot be built over utility easements unless the property owner secures written consent from the utility owner. I reached out to our Planning and Zoning Director, Maggie Castro, and she expressed concern that this might have major impacts on dwelling units. It appears, and I quote, "It appears the density could potentially triple if the bill is approved. This will affect the infrastructure required to accommodate this increase in density that will be allowed by right. A large area of Yuma County is located in the PM10 area, so tripling the density will create an increase in dust. Additionally, the foothills areas serve as the foothills utilities for potable water and sewer. The bill will have an impact of their services." Maggie shared also that, and I quote again, our county zoning ordinance requires approval of special use permits for accessory dwelling units in residential zoning districts. A special use permit is not required if the request meets the requirements of the Arizona Revised Statute 11820, which allows the use of a park model trailer as an ADU in a location zoned for one dwelling unit per 3 acres or greater unless a parcel is located in the noise zones. In calendar years 2023 and 2024, there were 11 special use permits for ADUs in Yuma County that were approved and 2 that were denied. And the reason I say that is because Majority Leader Carbone is saying that he has received several, or not many, calls from Yuma County about ADUs. But the data shows that we've only done 11 permits in the last 2 years. Yeah, that's my report to you, Mr. Chairman and the board, on this specific bill.
Probably from California.
I think we need to just take a position on this stuff. And this is all taking out the decision-making process for counties. It's all designed to have the state tell you what to do and what not to do. And I think that they're well-intentioned, but they don't really know what they're talking about, really.
It's a knee-jerk reaction to a couple
Our
of phone calls.
LPC,
But yeah.
Mr. Chair and Tony, our LPC, the Legislative Policy Committee for County Supervisors, took a opposition.
Okay.
Good.
We're in opposition because all these areas like Mojave County, Yuma County, all these rural areas, we're going to end up with 1 acre lot with 3 mobile homes on it, and.
All the places not gonna like that.
Oh, huh?
And these are all Republicans.
I know they aren't gonna like, no, they put in there, isn't it in there that the decimal of 65 decimals or something, isn't
This is
there?
not the whole bill, though.
Yeah, it's part of the bill. Yeah, the MCAS got their way already, but that's not the point. The point is there's a whole bunch of 1-acre parcels and others all over. And even, less than that out in the foothills that would be allowed to add 2 accessory dwellings on their property. So one attached and one unattached. And so our density out there, plus it doesn't have anything to say about whether or not the utility company can handle it or not.
Well, look at the way the Mesa's growing.
Yeah, and the Mesa
Get a
too.
lot of it, and that's right in the middle of PM10.
Yeah, in the middle of PM10. So anyway, CSA has already done a letter of opposition. I mean, we've taken a position of opposition, but maybe our board personally should take a letter of opposition or write a letter of opposition to it.
Carboni for Lake Havasu, isn't he?
CSA is in opposition, I mean, don't. they
That's us,
represent,
yeah.
so-
Okay,
I
and
mean,
we're
but,
good. But he's
Carboni?
District 25. He represents District 25 here, yeah, which is half of Yuma County. Yeah.
So the Paul goes on. So it's not-
Mr. Chair, we don't have to take a position. We can just let the CSA take the lead, or we can just sign in have our lobbyists sign in opposition. And,
I in opposition because I think, I didn't realize Carboni was our representative, but.
Yeah, he
it comes
is.
out this way, it means that somebody in Yuma County in the areas that, has complained. And he's trying to, it's a knee-jerk reaction to a situation that they're not gonna solve.
Martinez Lake, probably.
But
Because
he's
those
gonna
are
do
where
is
we deny.
I don't know if
incentivize
they've got
people who
room
wanna
out there.
break the rules to break them, because there are no rules to break it. Well, it's on the agenda.
Direction, yeah. We directed.
We directed.
We directed our
Write a
lobbyists
letter
put
of
us in
opposition.
opposition. Yeah.
On the federal level,
yes, sir.
Uh,
Before we move on, I know you're in a hurry.
no, I'm not in a hurry, just let's move it on.
Is there any more?
Life is short.
First things first is reaching out to the board seeking
Yes.
support on their bill, HB 2728. I'd like to share with the board that this bill is likely dead in its original form. It missed to reach the Ways and Means Committee. And this is the first things first. It's not, Supervisor Reyes, it's not on the,
It's not on the
I just
list.
learned about this before
Mostly.
the presentation. I apologize for that. First things first, decided to add tax on vape products for early childhood programming since their additional tobacco, like cigarettes, revenue is going down. So the other thing that our lobbyists shared with me is that public health organizations like the Cancer, Heart, and Lung Associations are not fully supportive of the bill because of the language. So I was just wanting to inform you, share that with you. There's other organizations considering also supporting it, but this is the most recent information I have from as of this morning. The bill did not make it into committee, so it's probably not going
It's
to move
dead
forward.
because it had to be on committee for
Yeah,
this
it's
week,
sponsored.
yeah.
That's for sure.
Yes.
Well, then we don't need to take a position.
It was a
since it
Democratic
is-
sponsor.
Yeah.
And it didn't make it into committee.
Who was it?
I'll have to come back to you.
That's okay.
Well, if you can read the tea leaves here, I mean, they're passing a food tax, a reduction of the food tax, an abolishment of the food tax, and then you want to put in a food tax to help?
This is for tobacco. That would be for tobacco products like vaping
Tobacco
products.
products, yeah.
Yes, okay. So moving on to the federal component, and I'll be quick. On February 13, the House passed the Agent Raul Gonzalez Officer Safety Act, HR 35, which is named in honor of a Border Patrol agent killed during a high-speed chase in 2022. It makes failure to yield a federal crime and imposes a lifetime sentence if anyone is killed during the apprehension. This is if anybody evades law enforcement within 100 miles of the border, then you're committing a federal crime. This is sponsored by Congressman Cisco Mani, and he got some bipartisan support. His concern is that currently anybody who is being prosecuted for this crime, it's dealt at the local level, and counties and cities have to get on it and prosecute this person who's currently being charged, or the person is being charged for evading law enforcement and not only for border-related crimes, but overall, anybody within 100 miles of the border will be charged with a federal crime. The other bill on the federal, on Congress, on Capitol Hill, that I'd like to bring up to your attention is a bill by Representative Henry Cuellar from Texas and Tony Gonzalez, a Republican. So it's a bipartisan bill. Give me a sec. It is the Land Port of Entry Modernization Trust Fund Act. This legislation will establish a trust fund that will be used to construct new ports of entry, expand and improve existing ports of entry, procure technology for inspecting and processing traffic passing through ports of entry, and lastly, hire U.S. Customs and Border Protection staff. The Department of Homeland Security will also establish the Land Port of Entry Modernization Oversight Board to advise DHS on how to use the trust fund and to review the trust fund's expenditure. It seems that waterway-based ports already have this kind of trust fund, and that's how they get funded across the United States, but not the Land Ports of Entry. So that's another interesting piece of legislation going through Congress right now. Unfortunately, it is only Texas, at this point, it's only Texas legislators who are sponsoring it or co-sponsoring it.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully, we see some of the Arizona delegation members joining as well. On the international front, AMC, the Arizona Mexico Commission, was in town. The board of the AMC was in Yuma County. I had the privilege to join them for dinner. And then on last Friday morning, they made a trip down to San Luis, Arizona, to the Port of Entry, both ports of entry at 4 o'clock in the morning, to actually get a feeling of what it looks like down there when you have a lot of the ag workers coming across to work on our ag fields. Also like to point out that the chambers of commerce on the Mexican side, on San Luis Rio Colorado, are starting to put a lot of pressure on the state to speed up the process of their port of entry construction and expansion as well. And that will conclude my presentation to the board. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, if you have any questions, happy to answer them.
Couple of comments. I mean, as a person that lives on the border, I can actually feel the impact of all these new policies that are coming into place. The most impactful right now in terms of crossing across the border is the Army inspecting every car that they have a chance to inspect in the Mexican side. So now you go to Mexico and you're risking a very big slowdown because now they're inspecting every car, opening every trunk, looking at every car to stop the flow of fentanyl into this country. I don't want to get into the policy discussion regarding that, but that's like uncalled for. Now we have dual inspections, and now it's easier to cross into Mexico than it is to come back. Given that fact, the San Luis people, because we're talking about the additional entomologists or the entomologists for the state of San Luis, I've got an email from Jenny Torres asking me to they canceled every meeting they had in Washington because of all the chaos and turmoil that's going on right now. So that means to me that we're back to square one in terms of what the policies we're going to follow in terms of supporting whatever San Luis wants to do, because they now plan to go on themselves and they're on a trip by themselves once this settled down. I don't know when it will settle down. But the entomologist issue remains the same as it was before, because they were asking for an additional person. I think that we need to put pressure on the person that's already there to go and stay in San Luis, not because of his convenience, but because of the convenience of the crossing. Now, I extended my return by a day because they had scheduled meetings with USDA, with GSA, supposedly. Now they canceled all those. Does that mean that we're not meeting anyone out there on Wednesday? Is that what it means to you? Is that what?
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Reyes, that is correct. We are not meeting with them anymore based on the direction that the city decided to take on this one.
All right.
I have my own opinion on it, but
no, I guess that's what I was asking. Do we have any meetings scheduled for Wednesday that aren't related to the city of San Luis development? No? Okay.
No, sir, we do
Right, okay. It's kind of a moving target right now. Everything's a moving target.
Right now.
I don't have any more questions, comments. Some sort of frustration, but we'll just have to see.
That's it? I thought the entomologist was already, that was in the works already, that they had agreed.
Mr. Chair, if I may, the last meeting we had with USDA at the Port of Entry with GYPA and the Director of State Agriculture, the agreement is that USDA will start considering a second person for the harvesting season. That's the solution for the time being. The permanent solution is to move somebody into the Port of Entry, and apparently they need a bigger space with the equipment necessary to conduct the tests, and that would, the ballpark number they gave us is $500,000 to do that. GYPA will start looking into different resources to see if the organization can help fund that expense and make the transition faster. Because right now it's looking like 3-5 years before we can see that happen. So it would have to be a public-private partnership to speed up things.
All right. Anything else for Alejandro?
No.
All right, thank you, Alejandro. Summary current events, or?
I have some. I attended with all of you the joint meeting with the City of Yuma. I went to the GYEDC luncheon. I had 2 prep meetings for Legislative Policy Committee meetings, and then I had 2 Legislative Policy Committee meetings. I attended the stakeholder meeting with Tim Dunn on the biosolids. I attended 2 ACO Legislative Policy Committees, and I attended the webinar for Western Water Law in Action, and I attended my committee meeting for on WACOG for Regional Council on Aging. That's what I did.
Thank you.
Joint city-county meeting, LEPC meeting, numerous meetings with people around the foothills in East County, reference to some issues, one being El Rancho Encantado, and that's about it.
I've attended a lot of logistics meetings lately concerning the crossing and the City of San Luis changes and latest changes, and it's been kind of a moving target. It's been a chaotic month for many reasons. Most of them have to do with the federal upheaval that's creating a downdraft. We've been talking to USDA about the loss positions. They experienced a loss of positions lately. There's housing issues that are coming up with that. There are, like I said, logistics issues in San Luis and the port of entry that's designed for commercial crossing. There are issues with USDA. It's been a very, very busy week of meetings and not meetings that don't happen and people who are not there anymore. It's been a wild, to say the least, month. And that would be my report, I guess. I did go to the YEDC luncheon.
You did, I saw you.
Well, you know, that meeting we had with the city, I think that was
very successful.
It was good to have. I mean, I think it's once in a while to have a conversation with other elected officials from the cities is great to have, and at least we know what they're doing and they know what we're doing, and we know that there's more than we think it is with staff that are working together, that work together with the cities from the county. So that was great. All right, Ian.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Of course, the work session with the City of Yuma. I met with Jerry Cabrera of Elevate Southwest. Also joined Supervisors Pancrazi and Reyes at the GYDC luncheon. Also some county staff was there. Attended a portion of the Joint Land Use Plan Committee meeting. Met with San Luis Mayor Nieves Rydell. Met with former Supervisor Russell McLeod. County Managers Association meeting. Arizona County's Insurance Pool meeting, and yesterday a briefing from the Office of Governor Hobbs on the ongoing federal freeze issues and the impacts it has on counties and jurisdictions statewide. And that's it.
You met with Russ McClellan and you're still talking? That's good. That's really a big accomplishment.
Thank you.
Nothing. Shutting down.